There are some major conservation areas in what we call the Chatfield Basin along Plum Creek and US 85. One of them is the Cherokee Ranch on the east side of US 85, as well as the Highlands Ranch Open Space Conservation Area and Daniels Park. Those combined make up over 13,000 acres of open space and conservation areas. And then on the west side of US 85, there's obviously the Plum Creek corridor itself, as well as Woodhouse, a state wildlife area, and other open space that the county has purchased or received conservation easements in over the year. Well, as these conservation areas are developed around, they can become isolated. There's no exchange in and out of those areas, and they become habitat islands. So for example, if you had a population of animals in a particular conservation area and you surrounded it with development, then those animals would need to survive just on the habitat that's within that area. And typically these areas are too small for populations to survive and thrive on just the habitat within them. So we need to connect them to allow for bigger habitats. And some species have larger home ranges. And so they may spend part of their time, say the summer, in one habitat and the winter in another habitat. So again, it's important to connect their habitats. In Douglas County, an area known as Cherokee Ranch along 85, which Douglas County has a conservation easement on, there's a herd of elk, over 400 elk the Division of Wildlife has inventoried in this area. And they have been diminishing their habitat by overeating the shrubs and other forage that they have. And without a connection across 85, that habitat degradation will continue and get worse. So it's important that we allow these animals to move from habitat to other habitats so that we don't diminish the habitat that we're trying to preserve.
This is an example of a wildlife crossing. It serves as a culvert for the transport of water primarily, but it's also a critical corridor for wildlife under Highway 85. As part of the Highway 85 expansion project, we're working to make sure that these culverts are enhanced, if not enlarged, to facilitate more wildlife movement under the highway. It's both an issue of protection of wildlife and also public safety.
As people know, if they drive US 85, there are incidents with elk and deer and other large animals, and these can be a safety concern to motorists as well as detrimental and fatal to the animals. And so by accommodating wildlife movement underneath US 85, we hope to reduce the safety concern of collisions with animals.
Even though CDOT specializes in constructing roadways and transportation corridors, we don't work in a vacuum, so we do respond to citizens and other public agencies. And when asked to put in these wildlife underpasses to respond to wildlife needs in the corridor, we gladly respond.
Colorado Department of Transportation is looking at widening State Highway 85 from C-470 down to I-25. In widening this highway, we realize that it creates a barrier to the wildlife from crossing over the roadway. The cost for providing the wildlife crossings is minimal as we are reconstructing this highway, and we will just need to slightly increase the sizes of a bridge and a culvert to accommodate any elk or deer that need to cross under the roadway. This provides an extreme safety benefit to both the wildlife and the traveling public as we separate any wildlife from crossing over the roadway.
One of the important aspects of this study is that it demonstrates that the connectivity that we need to maintain across the corridor and within the Chatfield Basin so that people in Highlands Ranch and other communities in Douglas County have more viewing opportunities for wildlife. And it's important for people to recognize that the animals such as elk that they view up in the Highlands Ranch Open Space Conservation Area are not necessarily staying in that area all their lives. They move down to Cherokee Ranch, they move east and west of US 85 to Plum Creek and Woodhouse Conservation Area. These animals need to move between habitats, and that allows people to have viewing opportunities, but also allows the animals to live and not degrade one habitat or another if they're confined to restricted spaces.